Hey guys, I know it's been a little while, but today we're going to be talking about how to lube your switches and why you should lube your switches. So let's get right into it, let's not even waste any time. So there is two major components on why you should lube your switches. The first one being how smooth your switch is, and usually that means how well the stem glides inside the housing. And the second portion of why you should lube your switches is sound profile, and usually a lot of switches benefit greatly from this. There is some that benefit less than others because they're already pretty well done, or some of them do come with a little bit of factory lube, so you might not notice it as much. But for example, in the case of cream switches, they benefit greatly. I do really like cream switches with lubricant. They have more of a muted sound, which I really enjoy. Now you're probably wondering, Alex, there's a lot of lubricants. Which ones do I choose? Well, we're gonna stick to two major lubricants, and that is Krytox and Tribosis. In particular, 205G0 for Krytox and 3204 for Tribosis. 3204 is a little bit thinner. 205G0 is a little bit thicker, so the Krytox is gonna be generally known for only lubing linears, but you don't let that stop you. You lube your other switches with that too, just apply less. I'm going to generally recommend 3204 for your tactile switches. It does help in a lot of cases. So kind of keep to that rule of thumb. 205G0 is for linears, and then 3204 can be used for really everything, but usually people use it for tactile switches. But there is a lot of different oils and all that kind of good stuff too. There's special oils for your springs, there's really thin oils, and there's even thicker oils, like for example the G2 in the Krytox line. Does that mean you shouldn't explore it because I'm telling you there's two popular ones? No, and you should definitely explore whatever you'd like to explore, but those two are the most popular. And I'm going to show you guys how to lube a switch, or at least how I do it. So here it is. Alright, I'm going to show you guys how I lube my switches. We have a few different things we're going to need for this. First of all, we have our switch opener, we have our brush, we have our lubricant. I have a cloth just in case I need to clean something up. And we have our switches, more importantly. Next thing we're going to do is actually open up our switch. And to do that, we're going to grab our switch opener. We're going to align the legs over here with the pins on the switch opener. Make sure it's lined up nicely, and then what you're going to want to do is evenly press right down the middle where the stem is. You should hear a click, and then you should see it open slightly. After you're done that, you're going to want to pull, and it should separate all the pieces of the switch. And you're going to be left with four pieces, being the bottom housing, the top housing, the stem, and the spring. Alright, awesome. We're going to grab our lubricant. For this one here, I am going to be using Tribosis 3204. Grab our brush. And this is what you're going to want to apply. You're going to want to apply a very minimal amount. Now, I am using a size 1 brush, as you guys can see. It's pretty small, so you're going to have just a small amount of lube on this particular size brush. If it's a size 2 or anything bigger, evenly coat it with very thin amount of lube. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to grab our switch here, and we're going to apply lube in a few different spots. On the inside of the bottom house, being the side shafts over here. And use the remaining lube you have and bring it around the center column, and I like to do a little bit on the inside column as well. And there we go. Now the next thing you're going to do is grab your spring, grab a little bit more lube if you don't already have it. Again, if you're using a bigger brush, just whatever's remaining on there, you don't need a lot for this. And we're just going to lightly coat this with lubricant, being the bottom. Take the newly lubed spring and place the lubed part facing down on the center column, and it should look something like this. Next, what we're going to do is apply the remaining lube that you have on the brush on the top and do the exact same thing on that top part of the spring. And now we're going to grab our stem, and what I like to do is I like to use a little 4-prong hold over here. These are jewel holders, and you can use them for these as well. It works perfectly. You can just grab the end of the stem over here. We're going to grab the exact same amount of lube that we used last time, and we're going to go over a few parts. Now, this is technically a linear switch, so what we're going to do on the linear switch is we're going to go over the side shafts over here, so the rails where it makes contact, the back, and then the side shaft again, the front, evenly coat it, make sure it's nice and thin, the legs, and I like to do a bit more on that rail. Now what I usually do is I clean the brush off and I like to evenly coat it. Usually that first piece that you get can sometimes get a bit too much lube, so we're going to evenly make sure everything is distributed. And there we go. So we have lube on the two side rails, on the back, and on the center column. And guys, it is worth noting that this is how to lube a linear switch. For tactile switches, you are not going to be lubing the legs in the front. You can still apply a bit of lubricant just where the flat part is above the legs. But basically follow this guide here and avoid lubing the legs if you want to lube tactile switches. Just about everything else is the same. Now what we're going to do is with the legs facing outwards, so this way here, we're going to make sure those line up with the contact leaf. And it should look something like this. Alright, last, you can technically put a bit of lube on the top housing over here. Where a lot of people like to put it is where the top housing kind of pushes outwards. So you can apply a bit there. Typically I don't, guys, I'll be honest. And then we're going to place with the larger bump of the top housing facing the same way that you had the contact leaf. So you guys should see it all closing together here. You're going to snap that together. You literally just press, make sure it's all firmly pressed on every side. And that's it. We've lubed the switch. Pretty easy. I do recommend placing a mat or something underneath, that way there you don't dirty up your mouse pads. But yeah, you just rinse, repeat for all these switches. All right, guys, now that we've done that, I want to express a few things. One of them being, guys, less is more when it comes to lubing. So if you guys don't know what you're doing, or this is your first time, or you feel like you've overlubed something, take a deep breath. You can always apply less and add more later. It's easier to add rather than take away. And you guys can explore the amount of lube you want to put on a switch. And the other big thing, guys, is just try it out for yourself. So if you guys actually like the way a little bit more lube sounds, by all means, keep to that method, make sure it's consistent, and explore and find what suits your personal tastes. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, by the way, guys, we're going to do a whole bunch. I have a whole bunch pulled up here. We'll find out what we're going to be doing. One being spring swap, switch films, and clipping and lubing stabs. So if you guys want to learn more, definitely hit that subscribe button down at the bottom. And if you guys want to see this done live, or you guys want to watch this live on Twitch, my Twitch is twitch.tv/AlexOtis_live. And you guys should definitely check it out. It's really fun. We do a lot of cool things like build keyboards. And if you guys have questions, you guys can ask me there live. But until then, see you later, guys.